All of us have dreams that we're believing for and promises that God has spoken to us. At one time, we were excited about them, but too often, when it's taken longer than we thought, because our health hasn't improved, we didn't get the promotion, our child isn't making good decisions, we get discouraged and quit believing for the fullness of what's in our heart. It's easy to water down what God's promised us. Well, I don't like this job, but at least I'm employed. It's good enough. I was believing for a nice house, but I guess this apartment will do. I was hoping to get well, but I've learned to live with this sickness. I guess I'm at least okay. No, okay is not who you were created to be. Good enough is not what God promised you. The enemy can't stop God's plan for your life, but he'll do his best to convince you to settle along the way. If you're going to become all you were created to be, you have to keep a fire in your spirit. There has to be a holy determination, a resolve that says, I refuse to settle for less than what God's promised me. You have to make up your mind. You're not going to be talked out of it. You're not going to water it down. You're not going to let good enough be good enough. It may be taking longer than you thought. It may be more difficult. The good news is it's not too late. You haven't missed your chance. What God promised you is still on the way. Not a watered down version, not a partial healing, not a make-do promotion, not a good enough marriage. No, exactly what God promised you. What you were excited about before the delays, before the bad breaks, is still en route. God doesn't abort a dream. He doesn't get talked out of what He's promised. He doesn't water down what He's spoken to us. Now, maybe the reason you're not seeing this favor is you've settled. You've accepted that your dream's not going to happen. You'll never get well. You'll never get out of debt. As long as you think that way, it will limit your life. I'm asking you to pull up your stakes, pack up your belongings. Mediocrity is not your home. Good enough is not your destiny. Getting by is not where you belong. You may be there now, but that is not your permanent location. Don't settle for an okay marriage, okay job, okay health, okay life. Yes, we should be content, but you shouldn't be satisfied with less than what you know God put in your heart. But sometimes, instead of stirring our faith up and believing for the best, we move the goalposts back to justify what we're seeing. I can't seem to break this addiction, but if I can learn to manage it, that's good enough. I'll never reach my dreams, but hey, I'm doing as good as my coworker. That's not too bad. Well, instead of justifying it, moving that goalpost to fit what you think is going to happen, why don't you leave the goal there and say, God, I don't see how this can work out. I don't see how I can get well, how my family will be restored, how I can reach my dreams. But God, I know you wouldn't have promised it if you weren't going to bring it to pass. I know you have a way where I don't see a way, so I'm not going to settle here. I'm going to keep believing. I'm going to keep dreaming. I'm going to keep stretching my faith. That's what allows God to do great things. Genesis 15, God told Abraham he was going to have a son. The problem was Abraham was 75 years old. His wife Sarah was 65. They'd never had children. She'd been barren all these years. Now she had gone through the change of life. It was impossible in the natural. Year after year went by, no sign of a baby. Every thought told them, you're wasting your time, you're both way too old, it's never going to happen. Sarah finally told Abraham to sleep with her maid. She thought that's the only way they could have a baby. It seemed so impossible, she watered down the promise. She reduced it to what she thought could happen. Many times we do like Sarah. When God speaks something to us, instead of coming up to His level, believing for the unusual, the uncommon, the extraordinary, we bring it down to our level. When I got word that the Compact Center was coming available, and the Rockets were going to move out of this building, something came alive on the inside. I knew it was supposed to be ours. But even though I was excited in my spirit, my mind said, there's no way we'll get the building. It's too expensive. The city will never let a church happen. I was tempted to water it down. Voices whisper, Joel, come back to your senses. Don't get your hopes up. It's never going to happen. It's easy to get talked out of the great things God has in store. There will be times God speaks things to your spirit that don't make sense to your mind. Sarah, you can't have a baby at 80. Joel, you'll never get the basketball arena. Dodie, you'll never beat terminal cancer. Just accept it. You'll never write your book, never start your business, never build that children's home you're dreaming about. You don't have the resources. You may not, but God does. He's not asking you to figure it out. He's asking you to believe. Why don't you take the limits off of Him? Well, Joel, I can't think of any good reason to get my hopes up. Seems so unlikely, so impossible. Let me give you one great reason the Most High God is on your side. He is breathing in your direction right now. You wouldn't be hearing this if He wasn't about to do something unusual, uncommon, something that you didn't see coming. You can't explain it. It didn't make sense. People will scratch their heads thinking, how did you beat the sickness? I saw the medical report. How did your business take off so fast? You didn't have the connections. No, but you have the favor of God. You have His blessing on your life. What He's promised you will come to pass. Not a watered down version, not a get-by version, not a good enough version. Get ready for the fullness of what God said. Make room in your thinking for the abundant, overflowing, more than enough life that belongs to you. The mistake Sarah made is she reduced what God promised to what she thought could happen. Abraham, I'm 80 years old. Surely God didn't mean I would have a baby. Let me find the maid and you can have a baby with her and we'll call that child our own. No, you don't have to take up for God. You don't have to try to make sure He doesn't look bad in case He doesn't come through. Let me help God make this happen. God doesn't need that kind of help. He flung stars into space. He spoke worlds into existence. He's not at a loss at how to turn your situation around, at how to bring your child back on course, at how to open a new door for your business. Don't reduce it to what makes sense to you. Don't let what you don't have talk you out of what God does have. Get in agreement with Him. God, this seems impossible to me, but I know you can do the impossible. I'm looking at it in the natural, but I know you're a supernatural God. You can take me where I can't go on my own.